OMG, baby, tell him.
Hey there, welcome to Powered by Backers. It is another beautiful day. It looks like I'm at the beach, but I'm actually not. But anyways, I am joined here by Nissar, Ahamed. Nissar, thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, Justin, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Perfect. So Nissar, I'll give you a quick little intro here. So you are the you're founder and chief content officer at careermatey.com, which is a digital publication dedicated to helping job seekers and freelancers with actionable advice. And you're the host of the Career Insider podcast. And you just told me you're actually in Colombia right now, and you've been there since COVID started. So why don't we start with that? You're in Colombia. That's pretty cool. What brought you down there, and what are you doing down there?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick.
We got all day if you want. No rush.
This story starts because a friend of mine, he's from Toronto. He moved to Thailand in 2013, 2014, and he was the one who really introduced me. He's a developer, so he can work from anywhere. So he introduced me to the digital nomad lifestyle. And I thought to myself, like, even as I was starting to build careermetis.com part-time, like, that would be really cool. I love Toronto. It's a great city to be in the summer. Of course, I don't like it in the winter. It's cold 6 months of the year. Yeah. And I thought it would be really cool to build a lifestyle and a business where I can work wherever I want, doing what I want to do, and I can work where I want. So for years I've been planning to do this, and I think the last year I've been building my business, and I think beginning of this year I decided, you know what, I've had enough of the Toronto winter. Every winter I say to myself, I'm going to get out of here. And this year I said, okay, I'm really doing this. So and my first stop was Medellin, Colombia. So fortunately I arrived here. Unfortunately,
Escobar's hometown, right? Isn't Escobar from Medellin?
Yes. If you've seen the show Narcos on Netflix, it is. Of course, he's been dead 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And the city's very safe and clean and beautiful right now.
Right.
So yeah, as soon as I arrived in a week, they started enforcing the lockdown. So I haven't really enjoyed the city. Been mostly at home, like most people stuck at home. But one of the advantages of being in a digital marketing or an online marketing business is you can work as long as there's internet. I can work. So in that aspects I'm covered. But yeah, that's a long story short. Why I decided to come here, why I'm here, and why we're doing this call.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about the experience? So we understand why you felt like you had the ability to do it, and you wanted to sort of get away from the the Toronto winters. I agree with you, and we're traveling as well right now. As I mentioned, we're from Toronto, but my family and I, my wife and kids, were in Sault Ste. Marie. So I'm actually doing this remotely as well. So, which is really cool. And I think that's the new world, right? Is going to be, if you've got internet and access, you pretty much can work from anywhere. So tell us a little bit about your experience there, because I think that would be, you said you went down there in March. So I'm assuming, like you said, very shortly after you got there, COVID hit and now you're locked down. What's that been like? Do you actually have a home down there, or are you renting a place, or what are you, what's that all, and the transition, and, if you're working remotely, obviously the work is fine, but how has that part of it been, the actual accommodations, or what have you done to kind of, solve those maybe problems or issues?
Yeah. So I'm in an Airbnb. So one of the advantages is, there's an Airbnb in any city you travel.
Right.
Me and my friends came here in January 2018. We just came here for visiting for 7 days because even at that time, there was this buzz about Medellin being a digital nomad hub. So before I commit, like my friend took the leap of faith, he went to Bangkok. I don't want to commit to a city unless I had experience. So we came here for a week, loved it. The food, the weather. It's called the city of eternal spring, meaning it's 25 to 30 degrees every day.
Year round. That's
And
yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
perfect. Yeah.
and it's in a valley surrounded by
Okay.
mountain. And as soon as we came here, like I was, wow, this is amazing. So ever since I went back after that trip to Toronto, and at that time I had a full-time job. I was running Career Medicine part-time. I had this burning desire, sooner I can do this, the better. And May 2019, last year, I quit my full-time job. I was running demand generation for a small startup in Toronto. And ever since that, I've been building. So I think it was easy to pick a location because I was already here. And thanks to one thing we found out was it checked out all the boxes, right? Like anyone living in Canada, we complain about the weather. So the weather was number one, awesome. The food is excellent. The cost of living, especially if you're from the US or Canada, you can really stretch your dollar with the cost of living. And that extra savings you can put back into your business or into
Right.
yourself.
Right.
And so it's easier to find an Airbnb. The internet is great. Um, the cell phone connections is great. So it checks out all the boxes. So
Right.
anyone thinking of listening to this, thinking of doing this, or if they're somewhere around the world who are already doing this, I would recommend the city, of course, once COVID passes, right?
Right. Right. Just quickly, what are you doing? So Career Metis, are you still running that, or what are you doing? I know you've done some freelance work, different sort of, you mentioned you quit your full-time job. So what kind of work are you doing that you're able, are you a developer, like actual coding or building software out, or what do you do?
If I can sum up what I do in one word or two words, it would be content marketer.
Right.
And under that, I do two different things. So I run an online publication called careermetis.com. I managed to grow it to a collection of 3,000 plus articles and contributors. So it's all focused on job search, career advice, hiring advice. So that's something I run part-time. And most of my time I'm freelancing. So I have a handful of clients who I'm helping with content strategy, content writing, content editing. So my entire life, my entire livelihood revolves around content. So I do it for myself, my business, and also my clients.
Okay, cool. So that's a great transition into, tell us a little bit about content marketing, and to those the uninitiated, what does that even mean? I mean, I get it, but tell us, why is it important? What is content marketing specifically?
Sure. So marketing has many different buckets, right? You can spend ads, you can do social media. Content marketing is based essentially marketing with the help of content, and content could be anything: blog posts, videos, podcasts. Like, what are you doing? It's a podcast.
Right.
And all of and guides, ebooks, everything, right? Any video content, audio content, written content. And what the goal of that content marketing is to create educational, informational, helpful content, which you can introduce to your readers at different stages of their life cycle. And with that, and the readers build trust in your brand, and then they eventually convert into a lead or a customer. And there are so many examples of that, like so many examples of companies that do that. Podcast is a great example. If you, in the world of podcasting, the two famous people that come to everyone's mind is three people, like Louis Hose,
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, of course, Joe Rogan, and also what's his name, Pat Flynn and John Lee Dumas. All they did is they published podcasts, eventually build that into a business. Now they sell different things: advertising, coaching, all the other things. The same applies to a blog as well. And the quick analogy I would give you is, let's say you have a specific question, and so you type that question into Google search and you go to a particular website, your website you've never heard before. And then you read that article, then it's like, wow, these guys really know what they're doing. They're very helpful. They're not trying to sell me anything. Then you read more articles and more articles. By the time you read more articles on that blog, you're convinced, you build a certain level of trust. And then when they decide to sell you something, you decide to buy from them without thinking. Then that happens every single day. That's the reason content marketing is so omnipotent, and like it's everywhere. It's so powerful. It's the word I'm looking for is
Omnipotent.
omnipresent. Sorry, yeah,
Omnipresent.
omnipresent everywhere. Like even Nike does it.
Right.
Even a small e-commerce store does it. Sorry,
Right.
that was
So
a long answer, but I
no,
just
no,
want
no,
to
no,
put an
for
example.
sure. I mean, it's definitely a huge. I think over the past 10 years, it's probably become one of the most important parts of marketing, because it is that it drives brand recognition, it drives that engagement, it builds trust, it builds sort of that basically engagement or conversation between the the call it the customer or client or the user or whoever and that business, so that, yeah, like you said, when the time to click the buy now button is presented, they're more comfortable with you as a business. And SEO, you talk about search engine, now you've got an article, they Google whatever you've written in that article, your article pops up, so it drives traffic to your site or to your business. So I agree with content creation. Obviously, we use it here. It's a great way to engage with different people. So tell us a little bit about the specific maybe types of content that you work on with some of your clients. What are maybe, let's go a little more strategic. What are some of the things that you're using for you and your clients that maybe other entrepreneurs might think, oh, that's a cool idea. I can start to implement that. What would be maybe your top three, I don't know, three strategic content marketing strategies that you use right now? What are some of the things people should be looking at?
That's an interesting question. Before I talk about my specific thing, I also want to point out one thing very quick is a lot of people, there's a lot of buzz around videos, right? YouTube
Right.
channels. There's a buzz around podcasts. There's a buzz around social media. Someone like Gary Vaynerchuk is every day in your face in Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And TikTok and all that. One thing a lot of entrepreneurs and even freelancers, even small businesses completely ignore is the power of the written content, text-based content, right?
Right.
Blog posts, articles, guides. And the reason even the people who work in the industry, I even myself, I don't think it'll ever go away. And don't get me wrong, podcast is growing. We almost have 1 million podcasts. We have millions of YouTube channels, tens and millions of social media accounts. But when people want to solve a problem, they actually go and search on Google, right? Whether it's a health problem or you want to buy something, maybe you decided you want to buy a bicycle, but you don't know how to buy a bicycle. You go to Google, and the written content is a powerful way to build trust and engage your audience. So I specialize in written content because I'll be honest, I'm still terrified of doing video. Like it's something I need to get over with. Podcast I did as well, but podcast also is a limited audience. But the reach of written content is huge. Almost everyone reads something online, so that's what I focus on. And if I can segment that further, I like to say that I specialize in educational content, and I like to focus on long form content, which is really long. And a philosophy I learned from one of my podcast guests on the Career Insider podcast. And this was basically when I asked him about career advice for young professionals. His name is Roy Osing. He said, a lot of people, when they try to get a job, they want to be the best candidate. And he said, that is the wrong way to look at it. You need to be the only candidate. After speaking to you, they should not be thinking of anyone else. And that really hit me. I was like, wow, that is great advice. I do the same thing with my content, whether I'm writing it on careermetis.com or for any of my clients. I create content in such a way that for that particular topic, after they read that article, they don't go anywhere else. So in the SEO industry, not to get too technical, it's called skyscraper content, meaning you have the best content in that, and after that, should not go to any other search on the website. That's what I specialize in. I like to focus on software, B2B, marketing, and career advice. These are the three niches I stand. I know nothing about travel. I know nothing about fashion, as you can see, obviously. I know nothing about anything else. So I just focus on the things that I really enjoy. So one thing I'm fortunate is I write for clients that I really enjoy working with, and I write about topics that I really enjoy writing about. So that's a long answer to what I specialize in and my niches and all that.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you're saying that maybe the written content is often overlooked or
Oh yeah.
isn't prioritized maybe as much as it should be. So that's interesting that you talk about really long form content. So let me just maybe a quick question here. Like, how long would it take you to sort of research? Like you mentioned, you want to do a all encompassing on a, sort of the be all and end all on a topic, right? How long does it take you to kind of put together the content to put it out there? Like, I mean, talk about Gary Vee. I mean, he's saying, 1,000 pieces a day or whatever, some crazy number, right? But and he uses the concept of, I forget the exact term he uses, but sort of having like pinnacle content and then being able to parse it into little quotes and maybe a couple little videos, and sort of like one pinnacle piece becomes 100 other pieces, and then they go on all the different platforms. But just out of curiosity, how long does it take you to create and how big are they? When you say long form, are we talking like a 20-page document kind of thing, or like, yeah, dive in a little more into that, I guess.
There's no like one answer, but I like to write articles 5 to 10,000 words, right?
Right. Okay.
So the average website visit is less than a minute, meaning people bounce on websites, and there's a lot of reasons. If you can keep them on your website for more than 3 to 5 minutes, that means you're building more trust. Think about this, right?
Yeah.
You go to a mall. I use the mall analogy, right? Like, let's say you don't know what you're buying, or probably you want to buy something and you're not sure. You go into each store, and if something it doesn't feel good for you, you leave that store right away. Then the store where you spend the most amount of time is where you end up buying something, right?
Right.
So, and the same thing applies to content as well. So let's say I take a topic on how to become a digital nomad. We spoke about that in the beginning.
Right.
There are hundreds of short articles on the web, but maybe the best article tells me everything I need to know on that topic. And after that, I'm like, wait, I have a plan. This article has given me the plan on what I want to do. And when the reader leaves, they feel fulfilled that they have all the answers. So
Right.
It is not necessarily the word, it's necessarily the answers you're giving to that question.
Right. So it goes to the question then, how long does it typically take you to put something like that together?
Really depends. If it's something I know, 4 to 5 hours. Something I'm researching for a client, 10 hours. My best article I wrote was a 14,000 word article. It took me 30 hours, right? But I really enjoyed writing the article.
What was the topic? What was it on?
I can't reveal the name of the client, but I can tell you it's basically business development for a small business or a freelancer. Like, what are the 10, 15 ways to get new business, right?
Okay.
So I had a lot of fun because I put myself in the shoes of the reader.
So what were the top three? Do you remember? Or what was number one?
Content marketing is one of them.
Content marketing was definitely, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go figure, right? Go figure. We're talking about it and it's on the list.
Content marketing was one of the 10. Cold email, you would be surprised. It's still effective. Email, like cold emailing is one of them. Going to networking events like meetups, these are the three that I can think of. And I'm saying these three is because it has worked for me. There are like tons of others, right? You can create a webinar, you can create a podcast like you. You can also be as a guest on another podcast. So there's this guy, I forgot his name, he's like a marketer. I've seen his video. He once pitched himself to 50 podcasts, and someone reached out to him saying, I really enjoyed you being a guest on so-and-so show. I would love to learn more about your service. So that's like something nobody thinks about, right?
Right.
And so I'm just riff-raffing all the ideas, but as you can tell, I really enjoyed that content. So I had no problem. So it really doesn't matter how long it takes, but the point here is like, you can spend an hour creating a 500-word article. You can write 20 articles of those, or you can spend all that time creating one good article. Chances are that one big article will get you as much traffic, conversion, and customers as all the small ones.
Right.
Right.
So you're a firm believer, at least from a content perspective, in quality over quantity.
Both are important, but quality is really much more important, right? Like, for
Especially
example,
in that, like, I love the way you're kind of going into it, or approaching it as this is kind of like a pillar. That's the word he uses, actually.
yeah,
Pillar piece of content, where you're going to solve or be the definitive answer to a
yeah.
question, right? And so that, I think that's maybe a different approach. I like the angle there. So I think there's definitely room for both potentially, but I like that. So okay, so let's shift in. So you haven't been out much in Medellin or Medellin. Is it Medellin or Medellin? I feel like they say Medellin on Narcos, but you said
Yeah.
Medellin.
The locals call it, say it, Medellin.
Medellin. Okay, cool. So
Only
have you been
people.
out much though at all? Like, have they started to ease things even lately, or?
No, our situation has been completely, surprisingly, not what I expected, because Canada is doing much better. So before even Canada, the US, Colombia, and every other Latin American country enforced strict lockdowns, and they've slowly started easing. Then now the last few weeks, we went back to a stricter routine again. So
Okay.
just to give you a quick heads up, like not heads up, like a quick overview of what that looks like. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, complete lockdown. You can't go anywhere, nothing.
Really?
You can go shopping only once a week based on your ID card, like based on the last digits of your passport.
Oh yeah.
So they
Wow.
have really restricted it. I'm telling you, if it is like raining like Vancouver every day or snowing like Toronto during the 6 months, it would get depressing. I think the sunshine really helps.
Yeah.
But
Do you have a pool? Do you have
surprisingly,
a pool or beach nearby that you can at least
no,
use, or no?
no,
Okay.
they're all closed anyway, right? Because a pool or a gym is like a public thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anything public is
Cesspool.
closed.
Yeah.
So
What about the
uh,
beaches? Are they close to the beaches, or it's, you said it's in a valley? So is there water nearby, or no?
no, there's
No,
no
like
beach, maybe
ocean
three
or
or four
anything? No.
hours. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And you can't leave the city because
Oh,
it's really strict. And surprisingly, they still don't have it under control. So there's a lot of, I don't want to get too COVID-y in this talk.
yeah, yeah. No
It's
worries.
like,
All good. We're both enjoying. I mean, we're alive. We're
yeah,
we're working away, doing something, building things that that obviously that you're building a life that you want to live, right? So yeah, again, Nissar, I appreciate you joining me here. We'll end it sort of on well, I guess, what are you, a sports fan? Are you excited that sports are back, or not a huge?
I was looking for. I watched two. I watched two events, three events: the Euro, the Soccer World Cup, and the Olympics.
Yeah,
So I think this year both the Euro and the Olympics have been postponed to next
right,
year.
right.
So yeah, so
That's
not
kind
much
of
to watch.
unfortunate. I know the Olympics was. I like the Olympics as well. We've had a couple Olympians on here as well. Had Richard Rock actually recently. Former sprinter and long jumper. So definitely love the Olympics. But okay, cool. Yeah, because we just started getting sports back here. We got the Raptors played, the Leafs have played. So the Jays, I think, are playing as well. So it's little bit of normalcy, but still no fans in the stands. Anyways, I'll end it with this then. I think you're gonna have maybe a different answer than some, but I'm hoping to hear. So if you could talk to a younger you or another entrepreneur sort of starting out, what would be kind of like that one piece of advice or one word that you would say to yourself if you could go back and give yourself some advice?
It might sound cliche, but I would say don't wait for the right time. Just do it. And I know it sounds very cliche, but I waited years and I started developing skills in my 20s, thinking that one day all these skills will be necessary and useful when I eventually become self-employed or a full-time entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I realized when I eventually did it, like it took me, I was May 2019 last year was when I decided, you know what, I'm going to be self-employed. I've had enough. Then I realized, wait a minute, you're never ready. You think you can start preparing and analyzing and everything.
Right.
The best way to do it is do it, and then you will learn along the way.
Yeah.
There's a saying that jump and build your parachute on the way.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Build the plane on the way down. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I would say to myself: take more risks. At anybody who's listening to this, if you're in your 20s, if you want to start something, no matter what it is, do it right now, because you are never going to be ready. You can go back and take, like, I'm not harping on courses or coaches, but you don't necessarily need a course or a coach to start something. You can use that later, right? Like, one of my favorite sports documentaries, The Last Dance, Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I'm
and
sure you've been watching a lot of Netflix down there, right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he did not get a coach and a trainer until he got to that elite level. Like, of course, when he was young, the point is he was still playing, he still applied and all that. And that applies to business, that applies to freelancing, applies to your career. You know, don't wait. It'll never be the perfect time. Do it right now. Do it as soon as possible. If it fails, you fail. At least you know. But
you learn from it, right? Learn from
exactly.
doing, right? Yeah, definitely. And most people, I think this would be true. It's definitely you learn a lot from, it's sort of that experiential learning, right? So you learn from the doing and you learn from your mistakes. So you make the mistake, you kind of, I say mistake made, lesson learned, moving on, right? Like keep going. Now I definitely think a lot of people say persistence, which is sort of a different view of that sort of thought process. But yeah, definitely just jumping in, like you said, you quit your job and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to Medellin, right? And then, or, when you went there, and if you would have done it, 10 years ago, you think, you would have had a different 10 years? You think you would
Absolutely.
have been in Medellin 10 years ago? Or
If
somewhere
I'm
else, maybe Thailand or...
No, my goal is to visit and travel. So I'm here longer because of the COVID. If it was not COVID, I would be in another city. So my goal is to do a tour of Latin America, then
Very cool.
and Europe and all that. And my work affords me to do that. It gives me that flexibility. But to your question, like, I waited 5-7 years after my friend who moved to Thailand, thinking that I need to build all the systems.
Right.
And I don't regret anything I did in the last many years. Everything was a learning experience. That once I did it, I realized, same thing with Medellin. Like, I wanted to do it since January 2018. And then I realized, why did I wait? Hindsight is 2020. Why did I wait so long?
Right.
Like, I waited till March this year. Even if I did it last year, I would still be, the experience would be different. So what I'm saying is, you can always do it sooner, but if you are not able to do it sooner, don't wait till later. Do it now.
Right. And don't have regrets either. Like you said, you've enjoyed the years. You appreciate the learning you had, and maybe it wasn't right, maybe it was, but now you've done it. Now hey, what if you waited another 10 years, right? You'd be like trying to build skills, right? So you can always wait for sunshine, but if you just jump now, you'll enjoy it. So cool. Well, Nissar, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us on the show here today. So do you have any last parting final words?
No, I think I've said it all. I just want to thank you one last time. Thanks for having me. It was a fun chat. It's always good to speak to a fellow Torontonian or a Canadian.
Yeah, I guess are there a lot out there in Medellin, or?
I haven't come across a lot of Canadians yet.
No, I guess you don't get out much either, right? But once maybe things are cool. Well, I appreciate it. Maybe we should connect too. I'm all about content, so we're a software platform, so software as a service. I guess securities exchange platform. So if those sound like interesting topics, fintech, if you will,
sure.
Yeah, we should definitely connect and maybe get an article on our site. But enjoy your day. Cool. Enjoy your day, Nissar. I will, and everyone else, thank you for joining me here on Powered by Backers. Justin, Nissar, and we are out.
OMG, baby, tell them.